guys, welcome back to Steve's Backyard Bike and Car Repair Tips. Just going to do a quick little video for you guys today. I know if you live in the northern states or up here in Canada, a lot of people do something like winterize their motorcycles. Me personally, I really don't. I do my maintenance over the winter, obviously, because we're not riding as much. But there is this cool little thing called TCLOCKS, and it's kind of help you get through your maintenance and try and make sure you get everything. So we're going to go over TCLOCKS real quick with you. Starting with T. T is your tires and your wheels. So what you want to do, and I'm not going to get into real detail here. I mean, if you're watching this, you're probably pretty smart if you're going to be doing this yourself at home anyways. But visually inspect your tires. Check the tread depth. Look for cracking. It doesn't hurt if you're going to be storing the bike to overinflate it by 3-4 pounds just to keep them nice and round for the winter. If possible, get them up off the ground, but it's not necessarily something you have to do. Check your rims. You know, if you got aluminums, you're probably pretty good, other than, you know, maybe look for any damage or a crack or something in them. The whole Honda here, it's got rivets in it, so, you know, maybe give the parts a shake just to see if there's anything that's actually loose. Spokes. So if you have a spoke, go around and you can shake them all, or even just go around with a wrench and tap them all, and you'll hear if they all make the same noise, you know you're probably pretty good. But if you catch one out of tune, you'll know that it's loose. I recommend taking it to somebody to get it adjusted, because if you start tightening on them and you over tighten one another, you can actually warp the rim and twist the rim, and then you're going to have a shake and a vibration and all kinds of trouble if you don't know what you're doing with them. There's actual machines they put them on, or just a little frame they put them on and spin them, and they can keep the wheel true as they tighten them up. So moving on from tires, we're going to go to the next thing, which is controls. So basically your handlebars. So go through, look for loose levers, make sure if you have to, you know, lube them up, give it a little lube. If you got cable lube, get into your cables and spray them down. It doesn't hurt. Go across your dash, look for anything that might be loose. Fluids we're going to get into a little later. But your mirrors, everything, just, you know, if it's a pivot point or anything you can grease or give a lube, give it a shot. Get it cleaned up. Even down, you can go to your brake pedal, your shifter, same idea. Make sure everything's nice and free and working like it should. Give it a little bit of lube. That's pretty much it for the C and TCLOCKS. Then we're going to go to lights. Very straightforward. Obviously, check your lenses, make sure they're not cracked, make sure there's no water in them, and check your lights. Check your brake light. Check your brake light from your handlebar, check your brake light from your foot pedal. Make sure they're both working properly. Pretty easy stuff. Make sure your signals work. Make sure your headlight has its high and low beam. Right? It's pretty easy stuff. So this is all quick things that you can do at home. Really easy. We're going to move on from the L to the O, which is oil and fluids. So this is where we're going to get into our brake fluid. Ideally, you should be changing your brake fluid every 2 years. If it's not something you're comfortable with, we are talking about brakes here, take it to somebody that can do it, that knows what they're doing. I don't want to see anybody try doing this at home if you're not comfortable, and then you go out on the road and you don't have brakes. To me, I've always had the theory that stopping is much more important than actually going, because if you can't stop, you're in a lot of trouble. So obviously check your brake fluid. If you have to have your brake fluid flushed, do so. If you have a bike that's liquid cooled, every 2-3 years you should be dropping the coolant out of the bike and putting new coolant in the bike. Oil, obviously. And when you're down under the bike looking around, before you do your oil change, look for leaks, right? Look for anything that might be moist or damp, either from a coolant leak or oil that's seeping somewhere. And do that before you drop your fluids. I advise that you warm your bike up, whether it's taking it for a short ride. Idling, they say, doesn't really do it. They say you should go for a ride to get your oils up to temperature, and it gets all of the dirt and the grime that's in the oil mixed up, so it's not just settled into your engine somewhere. And do your oil change, your oil and your filter. If you got a Harley, you're doing your transmission and you're doing your primary. which is all videos I'll be getting into again this winter. I'm going to break it down a little bit more. So that's pretty much it for fluids. So then we're going to get on to the chassis. So chassis is anything from your actual frame to your forks, maybe your engine mounts. Look for anything that's loose, right? Check your engine mounts. Make sure nothing's loose there. Try and spin the bolts. See if anything's loose. The engine's vibrated up a bit. Look at the painted sections where there's seams. If you see paint flaking there, it's a good chance that bike is flexed and you possibly have a crack in your frame in that spot. It's not always the way it goes, but a lot of the time, you know, you can see somewhere where it's a structural thing. So maybe the frame's weak in that spot and it needs to have some attention. Check your forks. Look for oil. You know, make sure your fork seals aren't leaking. Push the bike up and down. If there's a high fluid, like thick, that's left on there, that means your fork seals need replacing. So it doesn't hurt to turn your handlebars back and forth. Make sure that they are freed. Make sure the cables aren't binding. Ideally, if you can get the front end of the bike up, you can shake the forks back and forth and make sure that your steering head bearings are still tight. That's something that a lot of people miss on a bike, is that the bearings that hold the forks to the frame actually come out of adjustment or get worn. And that play will actually give you a vibration in the bike or a funny feeling, or the steering doesn't feel right. And that's actually what it is. A lot of people think they have a soft tire or something, and it's actually the steering head bearings are out of adjustment or need replacement. At the end, we get back to the very last thing, and that's our kickstand. So that's the K in TCLOCK. And they call it KRS, so kickstand or stand. That's why it's TCLOCKS. Give the pivot point some lube. Make sure it comes down and locks down like it's supposed to. Make sure that spring's not worn out or tired. You know, if you bounce the bike a bit and that stand floats up and down, then it could happen on the road, and nobody wants to hit a bump on the road and have their kickstand come down because they're going for a ride they don't want to go on. So make sure your stand is lubricated, inspected as well for cracks or stress marks, and check that spring. And that's a simple, you know, it might take you a day to go through your bike properly, or depending on who you are, if you're not sure about yourself and are going to give it a go, it might be 2 or 3 days. But TCLOCKS is a good way to go through your list and make sure that you've covered that bike top to bottom, so when it gets to spring, you know, you're ready to ride again, and you can start putting all those miles back on that you wanted, and you feel safe, and you know your bike is maintained and well taken care of. Okay guys, so I know this is kind of quick, but it's a simple thing, and I'm not going to go through and break everything down. A lot of my videos are just what TCLOCKS is broken down already as far as maintenance on bikes. So I hope this has helped you out. I hope you like the old Honda I got behind me here. I've got a Honda and a Harley, and you'll see them in a lot of my videos if you're one of my new subscribers. So please, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe. And when you want to know when I put up more content, tap that bell. Cheers, guys. You have a great day.